Being alone is not a punishment. It is a removal. The room goes quiet. The last message stops coming. The door closes behind the last person who needed something from you, and something in you begins to come apart. You call that loneliness. It is not loneliness. It is the first silence you have stood in without an audience, and you do not recognize the man it leaves behind. For months you have been performing, adjusting your face for the room, measuring yourself in the eyes of people who were barely looking. Take the room away, and the measuring instrument goes with it. That is why the quiet feels like falling. You did not lose company. You lost the mirror you had been using instead of your own eyes. 23 centuries ago, a merchant named Zeno lost his entire fortune in a shipwreck. Cargo, money, the life he had built, gone to the sea. Stripped of everything that told him who he was, he sat alone in a foreign city. And in that emptiness, he heard something the noise of his wealth had always drowned. He became the founder of the Stoics. The forge was not the storm. The forge was the silence after it. Here is what I am going to do to you. I am going to take the quiet you fear and show you it is the only room where you get built. And there is one thing your hand reaches for the second the silence lands. A reflex. You do it without deciding. I will name it before we are done, and I will take it from you. I do not need the room full anymore. That is the only difference between us. Watch the man who cannot be alone. He is never actually alone. The second the room empties, he fills it. A screen, a voice, a scroll of other people living louder than him. He calls it relaxing. It is hiding. Watch him at a red light. The car stops, and the phone is already in his hand. Watch him walk into an empty apartment. The television goes on before the coat comes off. He is not watching it. He is barely listening. He just needs another voice in the room that is not his own. You have trained yourself to never sit in your own company without a buffer. Background noise, so the thoughts cannot finish. A feed, so the silence cannot ask its question. A text sent to someone, anyone, so you can feel the weight of another person's attention land back on you. You think you crave connection. You crave coverage. Connection is two whole people standing near each other. Coverage is using other people to drown out a sound you do not want to hear. And the sound is your own standard, telling you how far below it you have been living. That is the thing about an audience. An audience lowers the bar, not because they demand less, because they let you grade yourself on the performance instead of the work. A man surrounded by people can look busy without being effective. He can sound certain without being sure. He can perform discipline for 40 seconds and collect the nod and feel paid. Take the audience away and the performance has no buyer. The nod never comes, and for the first time, you have to face the only judge who was ever real. This is why solitude terrifies you, not because you are afraid of being alone. Because alone, you can no longer lie to yourself about the gap. So you avoid it, you schedule over it. You keep the calendar full and the headphones in and the group chat alive, and you call that a social life. It is a security system, built to make sure you are never left in a room with the truth. And the cost compounds. Every time you flee the quiet, you teach yourself that you cannot survive it, that you are too fragile to stand in your own presence. You become a man who needs witnesses to feel real, who does not know what he thinks until someone tells him what they think first. That is not connection. That is dependence wearing connection's clothes. Here is the part you have been avoiding. The discomfort you feel in the quiet is not damage. It is the standard, still alive in there, still measuring. Pain is information. The ache of sitting alone with yourself is a reading. It tells you the exact distance between who you are and who you keep promising to become. You have been treating that signal like a wound to numb. It was never a wound. It was a measurement. There is a tone underneath all that noise. Quiet, exact, hard to argue with. The clean note of your own standard. You cannot hear a clean tone in a loud room. You have to drop the volume on everything else to find the pitch you have drifted off of. That is what the empty room is for, not loneliness, tuning. And the longer you avoid it, the further out of tune you drift, and the worse the silence sounds when it finally catches you. You think the noise protects you. The noise is the thing keeping you weak. Every buffer you reach for is a quiet agreement that you are not strong enough to hear your own voice undiluted. Stop signing that agreement. So stop running from the only room that tells you the truth. Everything you have been calling isolation is a forge with the door left open, and you keep stepping back out into the heat of other people's opinions because the work inside is harder. Heat does two things to metal. It warps it, or it shapes it. The difference is not the fire. The difference is whether something is holding the metal with intent. Left alone, heat is destruction. Held with purpose, the same heat is forging. Solitude is identical. A man dropped into the quiet with no aim rots. He spirals, he scrolls, he calls it a bad season and waits for it to lift. A man who enters the quiet on purpose with a question and a standard gets built. Same room, same silence, opposite outcomes. The variable is intent. Intent is not a mood. It is a question you carry in with you. What did I avoid today? What would the man I keep promising to be have already done? Where exactly am I lying? Carry one hard question into the silence, and the empty room stops being empty. It becomes an interrogation you are running on yourself. The smith does not sit and admire the fire. He works the iron while it is hot. You do not need to fear being alone. You need to learn to enter it deliberately, holding yourself the way the smith holds the iron, with a grip, with a target. When Zeno lost everything to the sea, he did not wait for the loneliness to pass. He sat in a bookshop in a city that was not his. He read. He asked the silence what was left when everything external had been taken. What was left was the only thing that had ever been his. His own judgment, his own standard, his own response. Everything the storm could reach, it took. What it could not touch became his entire philosophy. That is the threshold in front of you. On this side of it, you are a man who needs the room full to feel like he exists. On the other side, you are a man who can sit in total silence and not flinch because he has met what is in there and made peace with the work. Crossing it does not feel like peace at first. It feels like withdrawal. The quiet gets loud before it gets clear. The thoughts you have been outrunning catch up all at once, and they are not gentle. Let them. Sit in it. Do not reach. Do not fill it. Let the noise in your own head burn off like fuel until what is left is the clean tone underneath. That tone is your standard. It has been there the whole time, waiting for you to turn everything else down enough to hear it. The audience never had your answers. You have been asking the crowd a question only the quiet can answer. Now I take from you what you reach for. You do not become a man who can stand the quiet by adding anything. You become him by subtraction, by removing, one at a time, every device you use to never be alone with yourself. Stop reaching for the phone the second the room goes silent. That is the reflex. That is the thing I told you I would name. The hand moves before the mind decides. Silence lands, and you are already holding a screen, already pouring other people's lives into the gap so you never hear your own. Catch the hand, put it down, let the silence stay. Stop narrating your life to an audience that is not there. You rehearse conversations. You imagine being watched. You perform your solitude as if someone will review it. No one is reviewing it. Drop the camera. Be alone for real. Stop calling someone just to feel the weight of their attention land back on you. Not because connection is weakness, because you are not calling to connect. You are calling to be confirmed. Sit with the discomfort of not being confirmed. It will not kill you. It will show you what you actually think. Stop scheduling over the silence. You keep the calendar full, so you are never handed an empty evening. You call it being busy. It is avoidance with a planner. Leave a night open on purpose. Let it stay empty. Walk into it instead of booking around it. Stop filling every walk, every drive, every meal with a voice in your ears. You have not heard your own thoughts finish a sentence in years. Take the headphones out. Let the boredom rise. The clean tone is on the other side of the boredom. Stop measuring your worth in reactions. The like, the nod, the reply, the room's temperature when you walk in. Every one of those is the crowd grading your performance. Grade the work yourself, in private, to your own standard, with no one there to applaud the score. Stop treating the ache of the empty room as a problem to solve. It is not a malfunction. It is the reading I told you about. Pain is information. Sit in it long enough to read what it says, and it will hand you the exact list of what you have been avoiding. That is the whole practice. Not more company, less anesthetic. You strip away the buffers, one by one, until you are standing in a quiet room with nothing between you and your own standard, and you do not fall apart. You find out you were never as fragile as the noise told you. A man who can sit alone, undefended, and not flinch is a man no room can manage anymore. He stops auditioning. He stops polling. He decides, and the decision holds because it was never built to be seen. That is what it means to become dangerous. Not loud, not cruel, self-governed. Running on a standard the crowd cannot lower because the crowd is no longer in the room. If this is the voice you keep turning the music up to avoid, subscribe. The next room I put you in is quieter. Cross the threshold tonight. 1 hour, no screen, no voice, no witness. Sit with a man you have been outrunning and let the noise burn off until you can hear the tone. The room will be quiet tonight, whether you are ready or not. The only question is whether you enter it on purpose or get dragged into it. Dragged, it feels like loneliness. Entered, it becomes the only place you have ever truly met yourself. You have spent years building a life loud enough to never hear the gap. The gap is still there. It only grew in the dark while you kept the volume up. The men you envy are not better entertained than you. They are simply harder to find. They learn to disappear into the quiet and come back built. You do not need a new circle. You do not need a louder life. You need 1 hour in a silent room with no one to perform for, and the nerve to not reach for anything. The audience was never the prize. The standard underneath the silence was, turn it down. Sit. Hear